Hello, this is Billy Joe Saunders, WBO Middleweight Champion of the World. Subscribe to Sporting Icons to stay in touch with all the top news. God bless you all.
Alright, ain't no place like Low Place, and we're live. Well, actually we're not live, but big up to Low Place, because this is why I heard the news that Billy Joe Saunders has been ordered to defend his WBO World Middleweight title against Demetrius Andrade. Excellent. Love this fight. It's one of the fights that I was really kind of hoping was going to happen, and it is. Now, Demetrius Andrade, he is 25-0, formerly a super welterweight, so 154-pound fighter, and he hasn't long moved up, really, to be fair to him. As I said, he is 25-0, 16 of those by knockout. He's 30 years old and American. I like this fight a lot. Two undefeated guys. I love when two undefeated guys come together to have a fight, because for me, there's too many fighters out there with an O, and a lot of them seem to be afraid to let it go, because for whatever reason the O, the zero, seems to have this real high value over all else. It doesn't matter who you fight, keep the O and you will become a star. That just seems to be the way. So for when Billy Joe Saunders and Demetrius Andrade have a fight, excellent stuff. Now, of course, we did hear earlier on that Billy Joe Saunders, the talks have now fallen through with James DeGale, because James DeGale is asking for more money. And you see, this is the thing that I've been saying about James DeGale real quick before we get onto the Billy Joe Andrade thing, is that James DeGale, he considers himself to be a bit of a superstar. He is a star, but not a global kind of superstar, so he sees himself as this A-list celebrity. But, you know, when you take a loss to someone like Caleb Truax, it kind of takes a bit of a kicking. So to price yourself out was a very silly move. But either way, yeah, you know, you vacated your RBF title, go do what you got to do, and of course we're going to be supporting you anyway. Now, Demetrius Andrade, he hasn't really got a full resume of top quality names. I mean, you know, his last fight against Atlanta's Fox, he was an undefeated fighter himself, 23-0 with one draw, and he won by unanimous decision. But other than that, he hasn't really been in too much. Now, he was the first person to beat Vanos Martirosyan, who of course was Triple G's last opponent as well, and Andrade got dropped in the first round on that one. But he come back and he won by split decision. So outside of that, yes, he's got a couple of okay names on there, but nothing that really stands out. But of course, Demetrius Andrade, he's been calling out the Charlos for the longest time. I don't know why these guys have never fought. I'm talking about both Charlos. So I don't know why these guys have never fought each other. I don't know who's at fault. I haven't really looked too much into it, but certainly I would love to see them get it on at some point. But for now, the WBO have ordered Billy Joe Saunders to defend his WBO middleweight title against Demetrius Andrade. They've given them 10 days to negotiate and come up with a solution for these guys to have a fight. If they don't, then the WBO will enforce purse bids or that kind of thing with a minimum $200,000. So whatever the purse bid must be, it must be above $200,000. So this is great stuff, and this pretty much confirms who Billy Joe Saunders' next opponent's going to be, unless of course he's going to vacate, which I wouldn't have thought he would want to do, especially as he wants to look to take on the winner of Triple G and Canelo, which happens on September the 15th over in Vegas, of course, which unfortunately is not going to be for Undisputed anymore, with Triple G being stripped or vacated his IBF, depending on which side of the fence you want to look at it. And now it's going to be Derevchenko going up against Danny Jacobs for that vacant belt. Date and venue still to be decided. Yes, no date and venue, but they have signed. Weird, that one, isn't it? Yeah. So I like this fight. I really do like it. And for me, I mean, Billy Joe Saunders is underrated by so many people. But if you look at his record, it's phenomenal. It's really, really great. You know, he was the first person to beat Chris Eubank Jr. He's beaten Willie Monroe Jr. Okay, fair enough. Not a great name, but, you know, he has done it, and he's a decent name, no doubt. Andy Lee was a great fighter who, of course, has recently retired, and he's demolished David Lemieux. Literally demolished him out. He went over to Canada and schooled that boy. And for the WBO to enforce this mandatory on Billy Joe is a bit unfair. because for me, originally it was supposed to be David Lemieux. He was the mandatory, but he didn't want to have to fight. So as a last minute kind of, well, I say last minute, as a replacement for him, because originally it was supposed to be Advil Kurtzize, then because he got busted for some kind of Russian Georgian mafia thing where he was going around being some kind of like a muscle man, like a debt collector, I suppose, to muzzle people out of their cigarette money, was pretty much what it is. I haven't quite seen the full case of that yet. But anyway, moving on, it was supposed to have been the winner of Kurtzize versus Tommy Langford. Kurtzize won, so Kurtzize was up next. As I said, he got busted or whatever, so he then got pulled out, and the WBO ordered David Lemieux to be the next opponent. David Lemieux said, it's a high-risk fight, my hands are hurting, and I don't really want to have the fight. He made all kinds of excuses. So William Monroe Jr., he steps in. So then straight after William Monroe Jr., he ends up taking on David Lemieux. So he's almost done back-to-back mandatories for his last couple of fights, you could argue. But now he's being forced to fight another WBO mandatory in Demetrius Andrade. I'm not complaining because I like this fight. Otherwise, I will complain because I think that the WBO are enforcing their mandatories too quick after each other. He should be allowed a voluntary. Okay, he was supposed to have had a voluntary against Martin Murray, and that fell through on 2 occasions because Billy Joe Saunders got injured. So, okay, I suppose we can kind of overlook them, if you like, I suppose from that point of view. But it wasn't a year ago that Billy Joe Saunders fought David Lemieux. So for me, there should always be a year, at least a year in between mandatories. But either way, it is what it is. I like this fight. I'm not going to complain. And Demetrius Andrade, he was and ahhing about fighting Billy Joe Saunders before. I remember him having an interview saying, I'm not too sure about Billy Joe Saunders. He's a bit too big. In fact, I wouldn't mind kind of like easing my way into it. So in other words, take on a few guys who are naturally middleweights to try and ease into it. And he was potentially looking at Gary Spike O'Sullivan, obviously a former opponent of Billy Joe Saunders. Again, let's put Gary Spike O'Sullivan on the list of conquered from Billy Joe Saunders as well. And I love Gary Spike O'Sullivan. He's a great person and all that. So Billy Joe Saunders has a great resume, and to add Demetrius Andrade to his resume is exceptional. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people who have been riding high for Demetrius Andrade, and as soon as, if he was to lose to Billy Joe Saunders, all these guys are then going to throw him under the bus. He's a nothing anymore. As I said, this Zero seems to hold high esteem, which I'm not too keen on, to be honest with you. But anyway, I love this fight. So 2 undefeated guys, Demetrius Andrade against Billy Joe Saunders for the WBO World Middleweight Title. They have 10 days to come up with their own solution to make the fight. If not, then it'll go to purse bid, and the purse bid has to be over $200,000. So anyway, just get that news out there for you. So big up to Low Place for breaking this news. Otherwise, I may not have seen this news until tomorrow. So big up to Low Place. If you haven't checked him out yet, go check out Low Place. I like him. He's a good guy, and he's funny as well, and he goes in on one. Why? Because he's passionate about boxing. If you're passionate about boxing, go check out Low Place. So drop your thoughts below about this fight. Click that thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.